The next time that we have class, the next time we're together, we will be having a quiz, and it will have 2 problems. I think we talked about this last week. It will have 2 problems on it, and the problems will look like the ones that we've been doing on the practice quizzes. So, find that extra practice packet, that 2-page packet, and the very last page is the 3rd practice quiz. We've already done the other 2, but we have not done this one. If we have time at the end of the period when we get through our lesson, we will practice a little bit more. But we did spend some time practicing these the other day, and we're going to practice here. So again, the practice quiz 3 is the one we're on, practice quiz number 3. And one of the problems on your quiz is going to look just like this. It is going to have a big long string of functions. What do we do when we have this big long string of functions?
We break it up to cosine and sine.
We break them down and rewrite them as sines and cosines. That's exactly right. So, if it's already a sine, we just leave it. I like to put it over 1 because I'm going to have all these fractions and I like to keep things lined up. But you don't have to do that. Now, what about secant? You have to have memorized those 8 identities, the first 8 on that colored sheet in the first column, these right here that we've been talking about, those 8 need to be memorized. What is secant?
1 over cosine.
Yes, indeed, it is. Thank you. And, William, since that's a secant squared, it's going to be 1 over cosine squared. The power just comes along. What about cosecant? That one is not squared. What about cosecant?
1 over sine.
Yep. And what about cotangent? Don't say 1 over tangent. What's the cotangent?
Cosine or sine.
Yes, indeed. That's right. Got to get all those memorized. Good job. That's what we need to do. Once you get them all changed, then you just see if anything will cancel. So that's a sine squared, but I have 2 sines here, so can I go ahead and cancel those out? Now, I have 2 cosines on the bottom, but only 1 on the top, so I can go ahead and cancel, but I'm still going to have 1 on the bottom, right? When I look at my problem, it looks like everything's gone from the numerator, so I have to put a 1. If everything's gone, you got to put a 1. And then on the bottom, everything's gone except this cosine. If you left it as 1 over cosine, I would give you full credit, but really the best answer is what 1 over cosine equals, which is secant. So one of the problems on your quiz is going to look like that. A bunch of functions just all out in some big long string. You're going to use what you've memorized and you're going to change each one into sines and cosines. So some fraction, you're going to change it into a fraction. And then cancel what'll cancel. And that's your answer, whatever you have left. The other question, again, 2 problems, and the other one is going to make use of the what we call the Pythagorean identities, which are the bottom 3 of the 8 you have to memorize. You have to memorize 8. The bottom 3 have the squares and all that in them. Now look at this problem. is there anything at all you might do to the numerator? Does the numerator simplify, or can you do anything to it at all?
Could you do a negative sign?
Well, I would love to have a sign squared in there, for sure, because my identities on my paper, my formulas on my paper are squared. But I don't have a squared up there. Can't I factor out a sign? So I'm going to factor out a sign. If you don't like the thetas, you can make them X's. Doesn't matter. The letter doesn't matter. So you can make them X's if you want. What am I going to have left if I take a sign out of both parts of my numerator? Well, if I pull a sign out, I'm going to have a 1. Remember, if you take out the whole thing, you have to leave a 1. And then minus sine squared. Now, what is in the parentheses there? You should recognize that.
Cosine?
That's cosine squared.
Yeah.
1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. So we have sine times cosine squared over cosine. We have our sine. This is cosine squared off of your colored sheet. And it's still over cosine. Well, what happens here? That's a multiply. So I'm allowed to cancel. So my answer is sine times cosine. That's what I have left when I cancel. I have a sine and one of my cosines left. All right, I want to do one more like that one, and then we're moving on. So one more like that one would be something like 1 minus sine squared over 1 minus cosine squared. All right, what about that? What occurs to you when you see that problem?
The top turns into cosine,
1 minus sine squared is cosine squared.
and then wouldn't it be negative sine squared on the bottom?
Actually, it's just sine squared on the bottom. Because your identity, which is the thing you're going to memorize, is sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. That's what you have memorized. If you subtract cosine squared, you just have sine squared left. So 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. As long as the 1 comes first, Mary Kate, you don't have to worry about a negative. If it were turned around and it were sine squared minus 1, then it would be a negative. But as long as the 1 comes first, you're okay, because you're just subtracting one of these over to the other side. So 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared, and 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. What is this equal?
Is that your answer?
No. What is...
Wouldn't that be cotangent
It
squared?
would be cotangent squared. Very good. That is cotangent squared. Good job. That is exactly right. Because we have memorized that cotangent is what?
Cosine over sine.
Exactly. So when we have cosine squared over sine squared, that's cotangent squared. Remember, you just bring the exponent along. Okay, now you've got 3 practice quizzes. We've done them all, plus some extra random work. So if we have time at the end of the period, I'll do some more. But if I don't, you have them already done. You can go ahead and work on them on your own. Check your answers with the ones we've already done. The 3 practice quizzes. Well, we did 2 before. We just did 1 today. but they're all done. And they're all on video somewhere. Okay, here we go. Our notes, and it looks like we're ready for page 41. And we're solving a triangle. Now, let's see what you remember, because I didn't draw the picture this time. You have to draw your own picture. So I've drawn a triangle. I labeled it A, B, and C. And where you put the A and the B and the C doesn't matter. So if your triangle, if you had A at the top, that's perfectly okay. Now, if it's going to confuse you, go ahead and draw it the way I drew it so you don't get confused. But in terms of the answer, how you draw your triangle doesn't make a single bit of difference. Okay? I just got to make sure that A is 42 degrees, B is 73 degrees, and side A is 6. Remember, your sides are labeled across from your angles. Across from your angles. So wherever you put your 42, you can have it up here or somewhere else, but wherever you put your 42, your A or your 6 is across from it. All right. What's the first thing you want to find out? We need to find everything we don't already know.
The degree of the last angle.
Yep. And that's easy because we know what? What do we know about the angles of a triangle?
They all equal 180.
Always. So if we have forgotten that somewhere along the line, we need to get that relearned. The angles of a triangle add up to 180. All right, so you got angle C now. Okay, who remembers what we do next? Oh, guys.
Use the formula.
Yep, and what do we call that formula?
Law of Cosines.
The law of sines. And the way the law of sines works is, remember, the first thing you want to do is look at your situation. What pair, A and A, B and B, C and C, what pair do we have? It looks like we have that pair right there. Would you agree? We have A and A, angle A and side A. So that's what we start with. Sine angle over side. So remember, it's not 42 over 6, it's sine 42 over 6. The law of sines. So we start with sine 42 over 6, and now what do you want to set that equal to?
Sine 73 over x.
I'm going to go ahead and say B, just so I don't get confused. But yes, it's sine 73 over side B. Perfect. Now what do we do?
Cross multiply.
So 6 sine 73, cross multiply. 6 sine 73 equals B sine 42. Now remember, you're solving for B. So we're going to have to divide, right? And what are we going to divide by?
6.
No, we're trying to get B by itself. We want to get
Sine
this guy by
42.
itself, so we're going to divide by sine 42. That's exactly right. So when I type this in on my calculator, and I hope you're all typing with me, 6 sine 73, close the parentheses, divided by sine 42, 8.58. So B is 8.58. All right, one more step to go. What is it? What do we need to do?
The other angle.
And how do we do that?
We equal it out to a again.
So sine 42 over 6. Always start with that. Start with the pair that you had from the beginning. So sine 42 over 6 this time will equal sine 65 over c. So we'll cross multiply again. C sine 42 equals 6 sine 65. And then what do I need to divide by?
Sine 42, or 45, sorry.
No, it's 42. It is sine 42. That's what I'm dividing by, sine 42. So 6 sine 65, close parentheses, always remember to close them, divided by sine 42. 8.13 is what I got for side C. How do you feel about that? Okay? Law of sines, pretty easy actually, as long as you get everything set up right. Isaac, put your camera on, please. All right, here we go. All right, now, there is a little bit of a, what do I want to say, snafu with the law of sines. You do not have to worry about this. I'm not going to sneak it in on you. The directions are going to say how many triangles are possible. And when those are the directions, then that's your clue that we might have a little bit of weird stuff going on. Here's what I mean. When I go ahead and draw triangle ABC, and A is 20 degrees, and side A is 12, and side B is 31. Oh, I'm going to switch these. So my triangle ABC, I labeled what I knew. A was 12, B was 31. Now, I don't know if you remember or not, because I've said a lot in the last few days, but remember when we solve triangles, you're always given 3 things, and then your job is to find the other 3. So you've got your 3 things there. So now we're going to set up the law of sines, and we're going to find the other things. Now, it's different because I've clued you in with the directions, so we're not going to be shocked when something different happens. Let's set up our law of sines. Would you agree that I'm going to start with sine 20 over 12? Because that's the set that I have. And when you do the law of sines, you always, always, always start with the set or the pair that you have. If you do not have a pair, you will not be doing the law of sines. All right, so we got one, there it is. Now, what do you think I'm going to put over here this time? I don't know.
Sine B over 31.
Exactly, I don't have a choice. In my other problems, I had a choice. Here I don't really, because the only other thing I know, 12, where'd that come from? The only other thing I know is this 31. So sine 20 over 12 equals sine B over 31. All right, so I'm going to cross multiply, just like I've done. So 31 sine 20 equals 12 sine B. Now, groupies, these are hooked together. You can't divide by SIN. You have to leave this as a bundle. So what can I divide by?
Cosine.
Okay, I can't divide by anything in this box. This box is a bundle, so just 12. I'm going to divide by 12. And so now it says the sine of B equals 31 sine 20 over 12. Now, I need you paying attention, and if you have a calculator, I want you to type with me. We learned in the last chapter that when the problem came out to be sine x, what did we have to type in to get the answer? Exactly. Very good. So now what I have to type in, you can't do anything with that. So you are going to type in second sine, all that junk. So B equals second sine 31 sine 20 over 12. When you end up with sine B equals, you have to second sine. We never ended up with that in the last couple days. The other examples we did. But when we end up with sine B, we have to second sine. So don't be confused, just type it in. Second sine 31 sine 20, close the parentheses after the 20, divided by 12 equals.
At 62.07.
So did I. Now, here's where the tricky part comes. So far, we set up our law signs, we cross multiplied, we divided. We did have to do second sine, but that was all. Here's the tricky part. When the directions say how many triangles are possible, you have to check to see if another triangle is possible. So over to the side, draw your same picture over again. You have already figured out that one possible angle B is 62. To check to see if there's another possible angle B, do 180 minus that. That would be 117.93. And then look at this triangle and say, can I have a 20-degree angle and a 117-degree angle in my triangle? And the answer is yes, because these are less than 180, right? Think about this. If this one had been 100, could you have 117? Would that work? No. But since it's a 20, it works. That's possible. So you have two possible triangles. All you have to write down is 2. Now, you got to do all this work to figure that out, but there are 2 triangles possible.
Wait, how did you get the 117?
Subtract this from 180. If there is a second answer, it will be the supplement of the first. So you don't do any math, no work really, you just see if, take 180 minus this and see if it makes sense. It would not make sense if this angle were 100. That does not make sense, it's too much. So that wouldn't work if that had been 100. But since it's a 20, that works. 62 works and 117 works, so we have 2 triangles that work. Now I know it's confusing. Hang on, let's do the next one and see if it makes any more sense. So I'm going to draw my triangle. You don't have to find everything on this one. You just have to determine if there's, how many triangles are possible. There will never be more than 2. Sometimes there's only 1. Sometimes there aren't any. So here's the given this time. Angle A is 76, side A is 18, and side B is 20. Remember, little letters are sides. Capital letters are angles. All right, how many are possible? Well, I don't know. I got to work it out. So who can set up my law of sines for me? What's my law of sines going to look like?
Sine 76.
Yep, over what, William?
18.
Yep, will equal what?
What, sine 20?
No, I mean,
Sine B over 20?
it's sine B over 20, that's right. Remember, when you write sine, attached to it is the angle, always the angle, okay? So now we'll cross multiply, just like we've been doing. But remember, sine B is a unit. You can't break that apart. So all you can do is divide by 18. So we have sine B equals 20 sine 76 divided by 18. Is that okay with everybody? Now, when you have sine B, that's when you have to do second sine. We talked about that in the last chapter when we were doing our word problems. When we had to find the angle, it was always second. So I'm just going to second sine this big thing. It's easy on the calculator. You do have to remember to close the parentheses after the 76. So second sine 20 sine 76, close parentheses, divided by 18. What happened?
There's an error.
There's an error. That means there are no triangles possible. When you get an error, assuming that you typed it in correctly, which you did, because error is the right answer, that means there are no triangles possible. So remember, these instructions said, how many triangles have those characteristics? Well, in this case, there are 0 triangles that you could draw with these characteristics. 0. Because when you worked it out and you typed it in, the calculator said error. That means it's impossible. You can't do it. So there are no triangles possible for B. Problem B. All right, let's try C. Again, make sure you set up your triangle with things in the right spot. I mean, 15 has to be across from 85, and 25 is across from angle B, which I don't know what angle B is. Who can set up my law of sines for me?
Answer this one.
Okay. Someone.
Alright, so it'd be sine 85
Yep.
over 15
Perfect.
equals sine B over 25.
Exactly. That's the setup. Is everybody okay with that? So every time we've done a law of sines problem, what happens after you get it set up?
You cross multiply.
Yep. So we're going to have 15 sine B 15 sine B equals 25 sine 85. This is unbreakable. It's a unit. So we'll divide by 15. So sine B equals 25 sine 85 over 15.
This is for
Yep.
when you're typing it into your calculator and you're using second sign, do you do second sign and then like 25 then sign again, or only
Yep.
do it once?
No, I'll tell you, what I'm going to type in is, let me write down what I'm going to type in and then we'll type it in together. You're going to type in exactly what B equals. So B will equal second sine 25 sine 85, close those parentheses, over 15. So I type second sine 25 sine 85, close parentheses, divided by 15 equals. Oh, shooty tooty. Did you get an error again? So the answer, what? Pardon me?
I got an error.
You have an error? Yep. That means that the answer to the question is 0. There are no triangles possible. Your calculator will not give you an answer if there are no solutions. If there are no solutions, it's going to say error. All right, let's try the next one. Those are actually the easiest ones, but they're frustrating because you did all that work and got nothing. All right, here we go. We got a 42, a 22, and a 12. That's the given. Angle A is 42, side A is 22, and side B is 12. All right, somebody new set it up for me. Who can set it up?
Would it be sine 42 over 22 equals sine B over 12?
It is exactly what it would be. Thank you. Sine 42 over 22 equals sine B over 12. Was that you, Annie?
Yes.
All right, so now we'll cross multiply just like we always do. So 22 sine B equals 12 sine 42. And then we're not going to get wild and crazy. We're going to remember sine B as a block. So we're going to divide by 22. And we're going to type into our calculator second sine 12 sine 42 divided by 22.
So on this one, when you get something over like 100,
Let me get it typed in. So second
Okay.
sine 12 sine 42, close parentheses, divided by 22. Okay, this time I got an answer. Did everybody get an answer? Okay, so here, this hasn't happened in a while, so here we go. When you get an answer, that means that you have at least one answer. So 21.41. This triangle exists. And remember, the directions didn't tell me to solve it. The directions just said how many are there. So I know that there's at least one. Now, over to the side, draw your original information.
how many triangles could it be?
It could be 2.
No, like the most is 2?
Yes,
Okay.
the most is 2. So once you have found that the first triangle works, you didn't get an error, you got an answer. Then you're going to check to see if the second triangle works. And The second angle B that you find, the first one came on the calculator, 21.41. This one will be 180 minus that. It's always 180 minus the first one. So that would be 158.59. Then you've got to stand back, though, and say, is this possible? Can I have an angle of 158 if I already have an angle of 42? Is that possible?
No,
Because why? You're right. Why?
because it's 200. It's like over 180.
Exactly. It's over 180. So this triangle, this information, has one possible answer. The first answer you got on your calculator. The direction said how many triangles are possible. There's one. Because the second one didn't work. You
So
can, go ahead.
there will always be 0, 1, or 2. for these?
Exactly. Exactly. Always going to be 0, 1, or 2. And 0 is the easy one because if your calculator says error, then it's 0. If you get an answer, then you have to check to see if you have a second answer. Sometimes you do, like in our first example, and sometimes you don't, like in this one. All right, let's try next one. We got lots of practice here. So this is a
This
60.
is 4?
Yep, this is a 9.
I
Yep.
think I can set this one up.
All right, set it up for me.
Would it be sine 60 over 9 equals sine b over 10?
It would be. That's exactly what it would be. Is everybody clear with that setup? Now remember, we're going to cross multiply. So 9 sine b equals 10 sine 60. But then what are we going to divide by? One little thing. What is the little thing we're going to divide by?
9.
9. Because sine b cannot be separated. So we're going to divide by 9. So sine b equals 10 sine 60 divided by 9. So we'll take second sine, that's what we do when we have sine b equals, or cosine b or tangent b, we have to second. So second sine, 10 sine 60 over 9. Now you're either going to get an answer or you're not. So second sine, 10 sine 60 close parentheses divided by 9. I got an answer, did you? And that answer is 74.21. Now, the minute you get an answer, you got to check for the second one. So redraw the given, which was 60, 10, and 9. That was the given. And then ask yourself, can there be the other angle B? And how do I get the other angle B? Always 180 minus the first one. So this is 105.79. If you get an angle B, then you've got to check to see if there's another angle B. And the other one will be 180 minus the first one. Now, is this going to work? Can I have a 60 and a 105? Will that work?
Yes.
Yes, because the only way it doesn't work if it's more than 180, right? So that works, which means you have two triangles. You have the one with the original angle, and then you have the one with the 180 minus the original angle. right, one more on this set. All right, somebody new want to set this one up? Ella got all excited. Who else gets excited here and sets this up for me?
I can do it.
All
I
right.
will.
Sine 54 over 2 equals sine b over 9.
Okay. William, would you agree with that?
Yep.
All right, would you do the next step for us, William?
Cross multiply.
So that would be what? Tell me what to write.
Would it be 9 sin 54
Sine
Sine
54, yep. Equals,
2 sine b?
it would be, perfect. Chase Johnson, what's the next step?
I don't know.
Okay, Chase, you need to keep your camera on and you need to pay attention, sweetie. We've done a whole bunch of these. So pay real close attention. Isaac, what's the next step?
I'm not sure.
I know, because you're not paying attention either.
I can do it, Mrs. Ford.
I know how to show up.
All right, Caroline, tell me what to do next.
So you divide it by 2.
Yes, because I am solving for this. That's my variable. Sine b is my variable. So I have to get it by itself. And then I need to go to my calculator and I'm going to type in, second sine, 9 sine 54 divided by 2. You're either going to get an answer or you're not. So second sine, 9 sine 54, close parentheses, divided by 2. What happened?
So error.
Yeah, what does that mean? What do you put down in the answer blank? 0. The question was, how many triangles are possible? When you typed it in, you got error, which means there are no triangles possible. Okay? We're going to do one more problem, and then we'll do a little bit of practice for your quiz next time. So let me grab a couple new erasers. Now, the only time that we're going to worry about having 0, 1, or 2 solutions is when the directions specifically say how many triangles are possible. Okay? That is the only time we worry about it. The rest of the time, we're just going to crank out our law signs like we did before, and it'll all be good. Okay? So, 5.6. By the way, we just finished 5.5, so the 5.5 homework will be due on Wednesday. 5.5 homework's due Wednesday. All right, so here we go. Solve the triangle. This one is called PQR. This is 13, this is 10, and this is 58. And this would be side P over here. All right, who's got a plan? Why are we so quiet?
Isn't this the same thing that we just did? but
Okay.
we're-
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do you want to do?
Is it sine 58 over p?
So sine 58 over p sounds like a great way to start. What are you going to set that equal to?
Would it be sine r over 10?
Well, that would absolutely be true, but does anybody see a problem with that?
It's two variables.
There's two variables, absolutely. So should we try q instead of r? Or is that going to do the same thing? Sine, the same thing. I don't know if you were listening, because again, I've given you so much information the last few days. When you do the law of sines, what do you always have to start with? You have to start with a set that you know. So, do I know angle P and side P? No. Do I know angle Q and side Q? No. Do I know angle R and side R? No. When you don't have a set, you can't do the law of sines for exactly the reason that you said. You have too many variables. When the law of sines doesn't work, we have the law of cosines. This one is scary, but I want you to get a feeling for how it works. I don't necessarily want you to memorize it. I want you to be able to use it. Here's what I mean. This is what the law of cosines is going to look like. Write this down with me. P squared equals 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13 times the cosine of 58. Now, I know what you're thinking. It happens every time. Kids start freaking out when I put up the law of cosines. But it's really easy. I'll let you get it written down, and then I want to talk you through it so that you see what I did. If you're doing the law of cosines, you will know one angle at most. So the angle that I know is 58. When I write my law, the side across from the 58 is the only thing on this side of the equals. And at the other end of the problem is cosine 58. So on this side is p squared, and on this side, clear at the end, is cosine p. All of the stuff in the middle is a combination of the other two sides, the 10 and the 13. So we square the 10 and we square the 13. And then we subtract 2, and that's always 2. That's part of the formula, that's always 2 times 10 times 13. So it's 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13. And then your cosine 58 on the end. Now, you're still a little bit like, oh my gosh, this is too much.
I have a question. Is the squared, is that a part of the formula too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's always, that's going to be squared, that's going to be squared, that's going to be squared, every time. It actually has roots in the Pythagorean theorem, so that's why it has all those squareds in it. We're going to spend more time on it for sure, but I want to get through this one problem, so I'm going to keep going. This is the Law of Cosines Formula. You will practice it. Or I shouldn't say this is the formula because it's got numbers in it, but this is the way it works. Now, the good news is, this is your variable. Your variable is over here all by itself already. So we're just going to type this in. So on your calculator, type 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13 times cosine 58. And then hit equals. Now, did everybody get 131?
Yeah.
Okay, now be careful, because that 131 is actually p squared. Remember, that was p squared. So now we're going to have to square root that number. Actual p is 11.46. Little hint, if you want to square root that answer, hit square root, second answer, and then it'll just take the square root of that. You won't have to type that number back in. Did everybody get 11.46? Did somebody get 11.46?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All
did.
right. Okay.
I did.
Okay, good. Now, we are not done with this problem. Take a look at it. We still have to find these two angles. But, does anybody notice what we have now? What do we have now?
P.
We have the p's. And as soon as you have both p's, what law can you use now?
Sine.
Exactly. So sine 58 over 11.46 equals sine r over 10. So sine 58 over 11.46 equals sine r over 10. We definitely like our law of sines better. So as soon as we have a pair, use it. So 10 sine 58 equals 11.46 sine r. All right, remember, sine r is a block. So what are you going to divide by?
11.46.
You sure are.
I got 0.74.
Okay, well, wait a second.
I don't think it's right.
Well, here's the deal. Did you just type in this fraction, Mary Kate?
Do
Yeah.
you use second
Okay.
sign?
Exactly.
yeah.
I don't know who said that, but that's what you got to do. You got to do second sign. Remember, when your variable is sine r, or cosine r, or tangent r, you've got to do the second. So second sine, 10 sine 58 over 11.46. Second sine, 10 sine 58, close parentheses,
I
divided.
got error.
Uh-oh, that shouldn't happen. Nope, I didn't. I got an answer, so you need to retype it in.
47.73.
47.73, that's exactly right. So be careful. About the only place you can miss here is if you forget to close that parentheses. So try it again. Second sine, 10 sine 58, close parentheses, divided by 11.46 equals, and it should be 47.73. We're still not done with the problem because we need angle Q. But wait, this is easy. We know P and we know R. How can we
So
find
just
Q?
add them and subtract by 180.
Exactly. Don't be doing, you could do the law signs, but don't. Just subtract from 180. And you get 74.27. real quick, I want to do two things. I want to draw another triangle and have you set up the law of cosine, see if you remember how that works. So let's say that's 53, this is 16, and this is 14. You do not have a pair. Does everybody understand what I mean by a pair? I don't have my B's, both of them. I don't have both C's, and I don't have both A's. So that is not going to work with the law of sines. The angle that I know is 53. So out here on this end, it's going to say cosine 53. On this side of the equals, it's going to say b squared. So if you're putting cosine 53, then on this side you're putting b squared. And then everything in the middle is a combination of the 16 and the 14. So it would be 16 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 16 times 14. That's, no, I made this up. This is a made up problem. I just want to show you again how the law of cosines works. Yeah, I'm not doing a problem in the notes. This is a made up one. So on this side is b squared, on this side is cosine 53, right there, that pair right there. This side is b squared, this side is cosine 53. All of the stuff in the middle is a combination of the 16 and the 14. So 16 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 16 times 14. All right, quickly let's do one more practice quiz problem. I know you just want to escape, but let's do one more practice problem.
Did you say your quiz was on Wednesday?
Your quiz is the next time we have class, so is that Wednesday?
Can we use my birthday bonus for that?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay.
We sure can. So let's try this. Let's say we have cosine x over 1 minus sine squared. And our job is to simplify this. That's what the directions say, simplify. So what do you think when you look at this problem? What occurs to you?
Cosine squared
On the bottom.
on the, yeah.
Yes. 1 minus sine squared is the same as cosine squared. So I'm leaving my top alone, can't really do anything with that, but 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. So now I have cosine over cosine squared. What can I do?
Cancel and make it equal
Cancel.
to
But when I cancel, be careful.
b over 1 or 1 over it.
Yeah, you're going to have 1 over cosine because the whole numerator is gone. And when the whole thing is gone, you have to have a 1. And then 1 over cosine is secant. So this is fine. If you stopped with 1 over cosine, that's fine. But secant would be the best answer because that's what 1 over cosine is. Okay, guys, we have packed a lot into this class period, so don't fear, we will review and practice for your law sines and law cosine stuff. But I'll see you when I see you, hopefully soon. Have a great day. Yes, William?
Do I get the participation points?
Well, I don't know. Do you think you deserve participation points?
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Have a
Bye-bye.
good
I answered
day.
about
You
5 or
too.
6 questions.
You're
Yeah, I
awesome.
think I deserve participation points.
Besides, what is that you,
I think I
William,
did before.
William, what's on your head there, man?
I think,
On it.
It looks like a leopard or something.
man, it's a little leopard print.
All right, there you go, fashionable. All
Are
right,
there office hours today?
there were no office hours today. We had a meeting, and tomorrow I have jury duty, so I can't do it.
Hey, Ella.
Okay?
Miss Ford, how am I going to study for the quiz without you?
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
I don't know, William. You'll figure that out, I'm sure. It's all on video, extra practice, okay?
All right.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. Chase, I don't know what you're doing. Time to go.